Hi, this is Mary Beth Shaw from StencilGirl Products. Welcome to week 2 of Stencil School. I've got 2 pieces of art up here on the screen with me. In fact, I barely know how to use this monitor, so you'll see them right there. And see those birds on this art? Those are rusted, that literally rusted paper. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. But let me just tell you a little bit a story about that art. So that is the front and the back side of a postcard that I made for a swap in our Stencil Club. And this is one of the things we do in Stencil Club that we all love so much is we swap. We have different themes that come up and we swap things with each other, artwork that we make. Well, this time the theme was, the color was rust. Hello. And the theme was to use junk mail to create the art. So I started saving my junk mail for just like a week, and we get a lot of it. Catalogs and I don't know, these postcard things and other items that just arrive that we don't ask for. And so what I did was I took one of the postcards, and on one side of it I did that piece of art that says Earth Sleeps, and then on the other side I did that piece of art that says The Magic of Winter. And every element on each side was made out of other parts of junk mail. Behind the bird on the earth piece, you'll see that grid. That is the inside of a security envelope. The dotted pattern is some, I don't know, just something out of a catalog that I cut out that I thought was kind of cool. The other parts are that orange in the earth sleeps. I believe that was from a food ad, believe it or not. So anyway, it was just fun to collect your junk mail and to cut it into smaller parts. That's what I did because I was looking at it and it was all looked like junk mail, right? So I decided I would just take it, cut it into little parts based on color or a texture, a pattern that I liked. And then I would pile those up, and then I also took some words that I liked and I cut out the words and I piled up the words. And then when I had all those things, I just started gluing them down and creating something that was interesting to me. It actually kind of blew my mind because they turned out so much better than I might have anticipated. But that rust component, lingering in my mind. And I wanted to really put rust on there, not just rust, the color rust paint. So I decided to rust paper. This is something that can be done by any level of stencil user. Okay, it largely depends on what kind of stencil you use and then where you want to go with it. I did several different kinds, including these birds, and I cut out the birds because I just thought they were cute. I just liked them. But anyway, I've got a video for you that shows you how this works, and I hope you're going to like it. I had a lot of fun making rusted paper using stencils, so enjoy. Hi, it's Mary Beth Shaw from StencilGirl Products. I have a fun technique that I want to show you. I originally learned this technique from Daniela Wolf, and it's actually on Stencil Girl's YouTube channel, and I recently watched it again because I had forgotten all about it. You know how it is. So many things come and go through the years, and I am happy to revisit this one and try it and also show you how it's done. So I have a few different twists from what Daniela does. So let's turn the camera and give it a whirl. All right, now here I have some steel wool and some white vinegar in a spray bottle. This is just all white vinegar. It's not diluted, and I do have it on the spray setting. The steel wool's a grade 00. I don't know. You need something pretty fine. And what we're going to do is we are going to rust the design of a stencil, okay? This is so super cool. I think you're going to love it. So the first thing we do is spritz the receiving paper. And this, in this case, this is an old, just a hunk of vintage paper. And then I'm going to lay the stencil down on top. And since it's wet, it kind of just grabs onto it. I'm wearing gloves because I can't stand steel wool getting on my fingers. And, you know, you could probably wear a mask too. I don't get that close to it, and I haven't observed it going airborne, but you might want to wear a mask. Daniela did that in hers. And, okay, so all you really need to do is go like this. And what happens is all these little particles, it kind of rubs together and little particles drop down onto the paper. And wherever there's vinegar, it'll activate and it'll rust. And so the open parts of the stencil, the openings, will become rusty. And I've tried this a few different ways. It's not so fast that it's going to happen on camera, but it is pretty fast, I'll have to say. So when you do it, I did it the first time, and I did it just this way. I'm going to hold this up as close as I can to the camera, and hopefully you can see these little particles around in here, those little gray things? Those are the actual rust particles. And anyway, I think that they're just too cool, too cool, too cool. Love how it turns out with those little particles. But let's say you want some bigger areas of rust. You can kind of tease out a little bit of it like this. See? And you can lay that down in sections too. What I found, and I'm going to show you this in a sec, that I could get more rusted areas and then lightly rusted areas, kind of a variety. And then what I did at the end was I just spritzed it one more time, and then I set it aside. And I would say it started rusting probably in about 2 hours. So I was really pleased at how fast it was. Now the other thing, I tried rusting a bunch of different papers, and my favorite one is, of course, this medical paper. This stuff is like tissue, but it's actually pretty sturdy. It's in my Amazon shop, and you can get 2 rolls this size for like $11. Oh, well, that was not the perfect tear, but it'll work for this purpose. And I love the paper generally, but I especially like how it rusts. So again, you wet it down, and since it has a tissue consistency, it kind of goes a little bit sheer. Then you put this down on top, and then you rust. Then you scrunch and do whatever you want to do here. And I would urge you to do this with gloves. If you've ever gotten a little piece of steel wool in your fingers, you know what I'm talking about. It's just awful when that happens. So that's why I do it this way. And I'm going to put some bigger chunks here and there. And I'm going to just kind of press them down a little bit. You know, here the thing is, I know those of you who follow me and on all of my mad scientist stuff, I never know what I'm going to do with the papers after I make them. So, you know, I don't quite know what I want them to look like. But generally, I want them to look more vintage and more, I don't know, more unpredictable, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't want them to look like something you could purchase. So that's why I like a variation in colors and that sort of thing. I'm going to set this one aside now. And oops, get back on there. Set that aside, and then I'm going to use a tray, and I'm going to show you the ones I've already done, and you'll see how cool this is, okay? So I have them over here at the side, and now present them one by one, and This first one is on, this is notebook paper. And I'm gonna get a paper towel. So what you would just do is brush off the stencil, and you could probably just put it in some water or something, and then just brush off the paper because there's a little bit of these rusty bits still on here. These have been dried for a few days, just sitting in the studio hanging out. And look at this, how cool it looks. See the red and the blue lines of, this is like a real wide line notebook paper. And I thought, I wonder if this would rust. And indeed it did. I love how that looks. So that was a fun one. The next one is the, this is the medical paper. So let's get this off. When it dries, you know, it just kind of, I don't know, it just dries, and all of a sudden the stencil's kind of standing on top of it, but it's not adhered to it anymore. Now, I tore this a little bit when I was pulling the rust off, but this is that medical paper. It went completely through, front and back, and I just got, and look at the precision of it. You can see the number of the stencil on there is how precise it rusted. That blew my mind. I also liked how when I sprayed, there was some vinegar around the edges, not even in the spot where the stencil went, and that kind of changed color too. So I gotta say, this one, super cool. Could you imagine this in a book where you turned the page? I mean, love the result there. And I just tried that on a whim, that paper. I had no idea it would work. All right, this one is, let's see, I wrote on the back. This is Bristol paper, which, you know, has a nice smooth finish, and it's a little bit heavier, almost like a cardstock weight. Beautiful result on this. And I don't intend to use these, you know, the full thing, although they turned out so nice, I certainly could. So that's that one on Bristol paper. This next one is on, this is on Utric printmaking paper, 90 pound. Daniela was using printmaking paper in her YouTube video, and that's why I wanted to try this on printmaking paper too. I didn't have the same kind she was using, so I tried it on this, and I thought it turned out great. Really nice. And the next one, I had to do birds because, you know, rusted birds, the idea of it just thrilled me. And I did the birds on that same vintage paper we just used. Look at these birds. Oh my goodness. I just love this so much. Really, really happy with how this turned out. I'll have to say this was a big aha for me, trying it on the vintage paper and then also trying it on the medical tissue. So cool. And you can feel it has a little bit of a rusty finish. It doesn't smell though. This was from a few days ago. I might be a poor judge of that though, considering I just sprayed vinegar right here. So I don't know, I should smell it later. And then this is, I think this is the first one I did. This is Canson XL mixed media paper, 98 pound. And this is that stencil I just did. And you can see here how it rusted a little bit unevenly. And that was what got me to thinking about the idea of going back in and doing a second round and or intentionally varying the amount of steel wool I put down, because I liked this look very much. You know, you think about you using it in something, and I like the variation where it kind of goes to white because it didn't rust in the whole area. So I thought that was a lot of fun. I would urge you to give this a try. I mean, it's kind of rare for there to be a technique that is just so easy to use. And you have stencils. I'm sure you all do, or you wouldn't be watching. White vinegar, steel wool, any kind of paper. We all love rust. It doesn't get any easier than this. And also, hit up my Amazon shop because I know you want that medical tissue if you don't already have it. It is just so cool, the way you can wet it. I mean, it's not exactly the same as the wet strength tissue, but it's a close second, for just a fraction of the price. So super fun. I hope you enjoyed this technique and are running off to play. Thanks for watching.